Hi again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. Happy Saturday, thank you so much for joining me here today. Today we are building in Brindleton Bay and we are building a 3 generations family house. I'm really excited to show you guys this one. I'm very proud of it, so you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I've taken a little bit of a break from doing my cottage living builds, and that's simply because I think I've done maybe 5 at this point. I'm not entirely sure, I don't have my builds up next to me currently, but I've done a fair few over the past sort of month, and I decided to just come away from that for just a moment and do a suburban family house because we love doing these on the channel. Let's be honest, you guys love them, I love building them, so it's a win-win all round really. So yes, we're building in Brindleton Bay. We are building on my favourite lot ever. It looks over onto the harbour here, and I absolutely love building on this lot for quite a few reasons. One of them is the lighting. The lighting is absolutely unreal. The other thing, the views are breathtaking, and the lot size is just really kind of perfect, especially for larger family houses. With that being said, larger family houses, this house ended up being 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. It has a laundry room as well. It has a really nice open plan kitchen, dining, living space, which I'm really happy with. And I can't wait for you guys to see the interior, but currently we're working on the outside, and you can probably see me here just going through a few different colour swatches to see what I wanted to do essentially with the colour scheme outside. Had a little bit of a hard time with window placement and colour swatches and landscaping. I don't usually struggle with landscaping, but with this particular house, I think it took me 2 or 3 attempts to get the landscaping right. And this house also has a pool outside in the garden. So this is absolutely perfect for larger sim families. Now, the beauty with this house is that there is a master bedroom with an ensuite. There's also a toddler room. There's a teen/young adult room, young adult room, and then there's also a downstairs bedroom for grandma and granddad, or it can be a guest bedroom. However you really want to lay this house out, it's entirely up to you. But my thought process was, we have grandma and granddad living in the house, we have mum and dad, and then we have 2 kids as well. So I just thought it was a really nice sort of mixture mixture of Sims potentially living in this house. So you guys, as always, will have to tweet me at RachelPedd if you use this house. Again, I love seeing you guys. I love seeing my houses in your games. I love seeing what families you've moved in them. So please feel free to tweet me and or send me a message on Instagram, whatever you want to do. So I didn't keep in my first attempt with the landscaping simply because I had a really tough time with it, and I've really no idea why. I think I'd kind of not forgotten how to build suburban houses, but I have been doing a fair few, as I said at the start, cottage living builds, and it took me a little bit of time maybe to get into the swing of doing my suburban houses again, and that's okay. You know, sometimes you got to get back into the swing of things. So again, I had a really good time building this. I was initially going to do an apartment build for you guys, and I actually started it. I started working on one in, obviously, of course, San Myshuno, and for some reason I just couldn't get it to come together. So I've come away from that for a moment, and I don't know, maybe I'll do an apartment speed build later on this week, or I don't know really. I don't really have a set schedule at the moment, so you get what you get with me at the moment, I'm afraid. So you'll see me here playing around with some red swatches of certain plants, and I was initially going to do this sort of like cream, white and red theme outside, and I tend to gravitate towards that with a lot of my suburban houses, and I decided to do something a little bit different. So we ended up going for like a sort of like a sage green swatch, and then we toned down the landscaping as well to match, and I just think it works a lot better. So you'll have to let me know what you think, but I don't know, I had a bit of a hard time with a few things in this house. I think some of it was trying to work out the style that I wanted to go for on the interior. So when we do get onto the inside, you'll see that there's elements of quite traditional furnishings with a little bit of modern furnishings thrown in there as well, just to keep things a little bit more realistic. And then as I said before, I land on this really nice sort of toned down green colour, just because I'm starting to wonder the last time I actually used this swatch, if I've used it at all. Oh, I did keep it in. Sorry, yes, okay, so I did. So that was my first try at the landscaping. You'll have to bear with me, sorry. That was my first try at the landscaping. You'll see me just playing around with different chimneys and just trying to, there was something really off about the exterior of this house, and I was trying to work out what it was. It seemed really unbalanced, and I still to this day, I only built this yesterday, I still can't really work out why that was. And so you'll just see me here trying the landscaping one more time and just keeping it really, really, really dialed back in terms of the colour swatches, etc., because I thought it was just going to be too much with the red. The red and the green gives off some sort of weird Christmas vibe. We're not quite there. We're not quite there yet with the Christmas builds on the channel. They will be coming obviously nearer the Christmas time, but I was like, no, we're not going to do red and green. We're going to do green with pops of white, a little bit of pink thrown in here. And I just thought it looked really nice. I thought it looked a heck of a lot better than my first attempt. And I didn't actually realise until obviously I've just seen it now that I actually kept the first attempt in there. Sometimes I cut it out of the build. Clearly I forgot on this occasion, so I do apologise for that. But the exterior of this house actually took me around 45 minutes to complete, I believe. And that's not including the garden, the swimming pool. I don't know if I've mentioned there's a swimming pool. Yes, I have. The swimming pool, etc. There's not much going on in the garden. You'll see it nearer the end of the video. We end up coming out of the interior, finishing everything up there, and then we pop back outside and just finish off a bit of landscaping here and there, and also finish off with the pool and things like that. So you'll see it nearer the end of the video what we end up going with. I'm having trouble speaking again, and I'm starting to think it's just a me thing rather than, oh, I'm having an off day, because it seems to be happening more often than not. So you'll have to bear with me. I'm so sorry. So the landscaping, I don't know how to explain it. And I wanted to keep, as I said, everything quite low key, but still stick with my usual slightly, I mean, it's pretty overgrown at the front, but it's still manicured as well, which was quite important to me, because I wanted to have this ideal family house sort of vibe going on. And you'll just see me trying all these different things, trying to work out how I can balance it out and this, that and the other. But what I actually end up doing off camera, that section on the right hand side, I end up putting like a bump out, and then I end up putting like a roof piece on top, and it just really did transform the look of the house for me. It's something so minor, really just changed it. And so you'll see, well, you'll have already seen at the start. I don't know if you guys have actually noticed. It's not something that I would have noticed, but yeah, I end up doing that. And there are a couple of things that I do off camera, but I mean, we're looking at around half an hour for the speed build, which I think is just a nice length of time, really. And now moving on to the interior, as I said in my last speed build, I am starting to include the floor plan work with my builds now, because I think it's a really important element to keep in a speed build. And before, I was leaving it out of the videos. Now I have a little bit more confidence in my ability to do the floor plans. I actually end up leaving it in my videos. So this is only the second time that I've done this, but this is the downstairs. So this is the kitchen. Now these counters from the base game, we do end up changing the swatch ever so slightly, but we end up doing that when I move on to the living room, but you'll see that in just a few minutes. So yes, using these base game counters, and I cannot remember, yes I can actually, the last time I used these counters was when I did my base game only house, which was months ago. It's been such a long time since I've done a base game only house, so I feel like I need to get on with that. I think I need to do some more base game stuff on the channel. But I think when new packs come out, I get that excited, and I'm like, I mean, cottage living is a perfect example of this. I got so excited. All I've been doing recently, I mean, you can probably already tell, is cottage living builds. So it has been nice to come away from that for a moment, but there'll be plenty more cottages coming on the channel over the next few weeks, few months. I'm not done. I have so many more ideas that I want to put into practice. So anyway, this is the kitchen. Stop rambling on about other builds that I've done. This is the kitchen. I end up really liking this part of the house actually, and it's quite unusual because I wanted to keep it quite traditional, very homey, very cozy, but at the same time I didn't want it to look old-fashioned. So I'm hoping we achieved that with this. I'm hoping we achieved the look that we were wanting to go for. You'll have to let me know again down in the comments down below if you agree or not. But yes, you'll just see me here. I'm cluttering up the counters as I usually do. You'll see me in just a moment going through a few different swatches for the wallpaper, and throughout the whole build I go back into other rooms and I change swatches of things, and I like to keep certain things in a speed build because the entire process, if I was doing this in real time, you would actually see not how many mistakes I made. I wouldn't exactly call them mistakes, it's more like a trial and error sort of thing, I think, with building. And I think it's more realistic to include that in a speed build because you'll see the entire process. So anyway, that's what we're doing with that one. I'm very rambly today, I do apologise. So although I really like the colour scheme currently in this kitchen, this does change, and that is because when I started to do the living room I started to introduce more blue with darker wood elements, and then I was thinking because it's an open space it just seemed a little bit odd that the kitchen was using green and lighter wood. It just didn't, in my head it just didn't work, and so that's why we end up changing it. I don't know if it would even bother you guys if I'd have kept it like this, but it bothered me when I was doing, like, when I was dipping in, and like it just doesn't flow, it doesn't look right. But looking at this now, I do really like the colour scheme that we almost went for with the kitchen, but you'll see that we just go with a different colour scheme entirely. And then I end up putting some, a washer and a dryer stacked up here. Now there ends up being a separate laundry room in this house, so the washing machine and the dryer actually move, and then I just replace it with a plant. I didn't really know what else to put there. I could have put an extra counter, I suppose, but I just decided against it, so I just put a plant in there instead, because although I liked the idea of having the washing machine and the dryer in the kitchen, I decided that the downstairs needed a toilet, and you'll see when we get to it, but the room was too big to be a bathroom. So I was like, well, if I split it in half, I can make half laundry, half bathroom. You'll see, it makes sense in my head. This is the living room. Really like this room. Again, going with the dark woods, and you'll see exactly why I changed the colour scheme in the kitchen. You will see. Using this fireplace from, I believe it's from Parenthood. Don't quote me, but I believe it's from Parenthood. I haven't used it in so long, and it's just a really solid, traditional, but not too traditional fireplace. It's just a really solid option. So this is what we end up going for. I do end up changing the swatch of the sofas off camera to the blue swatches. So you'll see in the screenshots at the end that they do change. And that's, again, I just went on I actually did the living room this morning. When I came back to the build this afternoon, I had a change of heart, so I decided to change the sofas to the blue swatch. Again, not a big deal, the sofas are exactly the same, they're just in a different swatch. But I just thought I'd mention that just in case you guys download this house and thinking, well, it doesn't really look anything like the speed build. And this is where I end up going into the kitchen and just trying a few different swatches of these counters. Initially, I was going to go black, and then I'm like, it's just too bold, it's too much, it doesn't work with this living room. So I end up just going for the slightly darker brown as to what we had before, and then we end up changing the tile on the walls as well, but I can't actually remember which tile we went for. I know it's a tile from Parenthood, but I can't remember which swatches. Have I already changed it? I might have already changed it. I didn't even see it. It's like lightning fast. Did not even see that. So I do apologise. This voiceover is all over the place. Wow. Okay, get it together. So the living room's a really strange shape, and I wanted to centralise everything around the fireplace because that's logical, right? We end up putting a TV above the fireplace as well because that is something that I tend to forget in my builds. Anyway, I included it in this one, so pat on the back for me, yay. So with the sort of empty spaces in the room, I just decided to fill it with like hallway tables. There's a chair that goes in here. I put some bookshelves, just different surfaces, and clutter them up. I really didn't know what else to do other than what I ended up doing, so I think it works. I couldn't really work out what else I could have done, to be honest. Like, I don't really know. And I have just noticed now that there's no real dining space, which could be slightly problematic given that this is a generations family house and there's potentially quite a few Sims going to be living here, and there's only 2 bar stools in the kitchen. So we'll just skim over that and pretend that's not even happening. Something else that I do off camera is I change the wall plant to a mirror. It's the mirror from Seasons. Again, not a big deal, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. And now we move on to this is the laundry room stroke downstairs bathroom. I really like this open archway here that I decided to do, and it's a really nice functional space for your Sims to get the laundry done. There ends up being a bathtub in here, with a toilet and a sink, of course, and then, as I said, the washer and dryer just end up coming in here. So I think it works really, really nicely. It's been a really long time since I've done a house with a separate laundry room, so I feel like this house just called for it. And I also didn't feel the need to put 3 bedrooms on the ground floor, because I have spoken before about how I don't like putting young, like, toddlers or children's rooms on the ground floor, and I didn't want to do like another guest bedroom or anything like that. So there's just 2 bedrooms on the ground floor. Obviously the Sims there have access to this bathroom stroke laundry room, and then there's 2 bedrooms on the top floor. They have access to an ensuite and then a main bathroom. So I thought the floor plan is actually quite strong with this house, and I don't normally say that because sometimes my floor plans can be a little bit weird, and I will say if they're a bit weird, but this one actually ended up looking really nice and sort of just working, I guess. And this is such a good space here. I love doing these sort of like slightly bigger bathrooms because you can just clutter them up and just make them look really lived in and really cozy. And then again, going in with some slightly modern elements as well, because the house isn't completely traditional, but it's not modern either. It's sort of like a mixture of the two. So this ends up being the teenager or young adult room. It really depends on the family dynamic that you have and the families that you might want to move in here. But the colour scheme's very dark, very blue. So you can move pretty much whatever sim you want to in here. I wasn't really thinking about the gender of the sim that was in here, but I think it would pretty much work for any sim, to be honest. So we just go through a few different options with the wall hangings, etc., because I almost landed on making this quite a sophisticated room, and then I was envisioning probably more of a teenager in here, so I ended up just putting some, like, I'll call it juvenile artwork on the walls just to really get that across. Yeah, it's quite stereotypical, but I think when you're doing builds like this and you want to get that across, then you have to do it in quite an obvious way. I hope that makes sense. So this sim has a computer on a desk in the corner there, and they also have a chest of drawers in the little bump out where the window ends up being, which I thought actually worked out really, really well. The bit that I put there off camera, you'll probably see it in just a moment. So yeah, we end up putting some of these lights from the Eco Lifestyle pack on the wall as well. Again, just making it quite obvious that there's probably a teenager in this room. This is the chest of drawers. I didn't want them to be super modern or anything like that. I was thinking that maybe they've had these chest of drawers since they were little, and like, because chest of drawers are expensive to replace, and chest of drawers are just expensive in general, so maybe they've had them since they were quite young and they've just kept them because it's just easier to do that, isn't it? I feel now that I'm buying a house and getting furniture, etc., I've realized how expensive things actually are, and it's like opened my eyes. So anyway, so this is what I envisioned as Grandma and Granddad's room. Again, it could just be Granddad's room, Grandma's room, whatever you want to do, really. I envisioned that Grandma and Granddad lived here, so I just thought it was a really, really nice idea. And again, I love doing these generations houses because I think a lot of people play. Well, it just depends how you play, really. A bit of trivia for you. I've never actually played with a family to the extent where they've turned into elders or whatever. So I like the idea of playing and keeping Grandma and Granddad in the household until they pass. I really like that idea. So I'm hoping that a few people do the same thing and that they'll have some sort of use for this room. But again, if you don't, it could be a guest room or it could even be a teen room, however you really want to play it out. it doesn't really matter. I just tried to keep a few traditional elements in here that maybe Grandma and Granddad have brought from their house and put in this room. I hope that makes sense and I hope that comes across. But anyway, that was the thought process there. So now we're moving on to the upstairs, the final part of the house. So you'll see here it's very restricted with size, and you will see me struggling with the floor plan, but I do keep it all in. Wow, that wasn't much of a struggle at all, was it? I was just about to say, I really struggled with this, but clearly I didn't struggle as much as I thought. So 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms up here. One's an ensuite, one is a main bathroom. Now the first bedroom we end up working on ends up being a toddler room, and I just thought it was important for the toddler to be on the same floor as mum and dad. I feel like it would be a lot safer in real life, so I try to stick to that with my builds as much as possible. This room, I'm going to be honest, when I look back, it's probably a little bit too busy. I could have definitely toned down the wall decorations, and I regret not doing that, to be completely honest. So if you do download this house, you might want to just turn it back, because I really don't know what I was thinking. It's almost like I can't stand to have like empty open wall space. I've got like a little bit of a problem with that, so you'll just have to maybe go in and declutter, as it were. But I was like, well, if there's a toddler in this bedroom, then it's not gonna be tidy, it's gonna be messy. There's a toddler in here. Like, toddlers aren't clean creatures, are they? You know, they don't tidy up after themselves and stuff. So anyway, we'll just brush over it, and we'll talk about something else while we're doing this room. So how are you guys? What have you been doing this weekend? Have you been doing anything fun? I've actually had the day off today, and we went furniture shopping for our new house, but I'm unfortunately back at work tomorrow. Working on a Sunday. It should be illegal, I think, but we won't dwell on that too much, because unfortunately I can't do anything about it. So yeah, what have you guys been doing? Anything fun? Drop me a comment down below, let me know. Now we can talk about the build again, because we're over the embarrassing part. So this is the master bedroom, and this bed is from the Dream Home Decorator pack in this really nice blue swatch, which I have not used as of yet, so I thought this was a really good opportunity to do so. And I like that each of the bedrooms have their own colour scheme as well, but they all incorporate the dark wood tones as well, which I think is just really, really nice. And this is quite a small room, but it's a really nice shape, so there's not much, although there's not much that you can do with it, I think it ends up just looking really clean. And I'm not in love with it, I don't think, but I think it's okay. So I think this entire top floor is just one giant mistake. To be completely honest, I don't think it's my best work. I like to be honest here. You know, I like to be honest. I don't think it necessarily, you know, you can't be super proud of everything that you do. I love the exterior of the house. I love the downstairs of the house. The upstairs is just not quite hitting the mark for me. Anyway, you guys might disagree. I don't know. So anyway, we were working on the hallway. I don't put anything in the hallway because there's no room to put anything. Normally I put like hallway tables and mirrors, and I was like, no, this just doesn't have the space for it. This is the main bathroom with this huge window. Again, in real life this just wouldn't even be a thing. In real life this is probably where the master bedroom would be, but with the stair placement in this house, it was just impossible for me to lay out in any other way than how it's already laid out. But it's The Sims, who cares? It's The Sims, it's not that serious. So this is the ensuite, again very square, but I ended up fitting a bath and a shower in here, which I really liked. And now we move on to the exterior. We're just finishing the landscaping. Again, I normally leave this out of my speed builds, but I'm trying to include more and more, especially if the garden has more going on than what I usually do. Normally my gardens are literally just trees and flowers with like a table or something in there. So with this one, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not the best backyard that anyone's ever done, but it's okay. You know, it has a pool. Like, come on, most of my houses don't have pools, so I thought that was a really neat touch. So, and then I was like, well, because I could have just done like a rectangular shape for the swimming pool, and then I was like, no, let's come away from that. Let's do a little bit more of an unusual shape. So I ended up just putting like a rectangle and then a little bit of a square going off to the right there, which I just think's add a little bit more depth, a little bit more dimension, and we just end up removing some of the path because I'd put that down when I first did the build, and then obviously as I've put items down here, there and everywhere, it just wasn't going to work the way I wanted it to. So I ended up just like moving it around the different objects to make it look a little bit more real, I guess, a little bit more believable, I suppose is probably the better way to say it. But and then we just end up putting a little bit of landscaping here, there and everywhere just to beef out the back garden. But as I said, there's really not much going on because I think I need to actually work on my back gardens because I can't do them, okay? They're just not something that come to me very easily. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys in peace. You're probably breathing a sigh of relief, right? Anyway, I've rambled on for long enough. The house is available to download from the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description down below. You can get them from SimFileShare. But thank you so much for joining me here today, everyone. Thank you for bearing with me with a very rambly voiceover. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Can't get my words out, but thank you for being so patient with me. You guys take care, and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!